I'm being overly particular. To be frank, I find the alternative method of simply shaking off the excess moisture to be unappealing and often ineffective in removing all remaining urine. The residue can easily seep into my undergarments, resulting in an uncomfortable and unpleasant situation. Furthermore, I believe that the conventional approach to completing the urination process can be somewhat unhygienic. The urine that seeps into my undergarments can then come into contact with my genital area, rendering the initial shaking motion pointless in maintaining cleanliness. Edit: no changes were made to the section. Update: no changes were made to the section. TLDR: a person with a preference for drying their genital area after urinating is met with criticism, while they find the alternative method to be unappealing and ineffective. Mod poll: should RTIFU switch to only allowing NSFW posts on the weekends? Pros: would diversify the content of stories, and the subreddit wouldn't be as overrun with NSFW posts. You can read TIFU at work again in AMP X200B. Cons: partially removes responsibility from the U. Community vote: redefining RTIFU's posting schedule. Proposed change: limiting NSFW content to weekend-only submissions. Advantages: this shift could lead to a more varied content mix, reducing the prevalence of NSFW posts and allowing users to access TIFU stories during work hours. Drawbacks: by restricting NSFW content, users may be less accountable for their submissions, and the upvote system could be less effective in promoting quality content. Furthermore, concentrating NSFW posts on weekends might decrease their visibility. Cast your vote. View poll: I know I am too old to be delivering pizza, but please stop laughing at me. Everyone has dreams, but not all of us will achieve them. I might not be well off, but you know what? My wife and I are happy with our life. We have a cozy little house, a very mischievous cat, and we are s. Please, spare me the chuckles. I'm old enough to know better, but I just can't seem to shake the dream I've been chasing. While it's true that not everyone gets to live the life of their wildest aspirations, I wouldn't trade mine for anything. I've worked hard to build a modest but fulfilling existence with my loving wife. Our little home is warm and inviting, our rambunctious cat is the light of our lives, and every evening, I get to walk through the door and be greeted with the same loving smile. To all you young folks who can't resist teasing me when I bring your orders, I wish you the same joy and contentment I've found. Sincerely, a slightly exasperated but happy Gramps who delivers pizza. About to get my master's degree and have been holding this in for a while. I'm about to get my master's degree, which is a big deal because no one in my family has even graduated high school. Not my mom, dad, or brothers. My dad is unemployed, my mom is disabled. At least 3 of them. The moment of truth is finally upon me as I stand on the threshold of receiving my master's degree. It's an incredible achievement, especially considering the challenging circumstances of my upbringing. My family's academic history is virtually non-existent, not one of my parents or siblings has graduated from high school. The struggles they've faced are significant, with my father currently unemployed, my mother dealing with a disability, and at least 3 of them struggling with addiction. Despite these obstacles, I've persevered and managed to stay on a positive path. The fact that I've accomplished this on my own terms is a testament to my determination and resilience. I've overcome a difficult childhood to achieve a remarkable milestone, and I'm proud of the person I've become. Edit: wow, I'm overwhelmed by the outpouring of support. The news of my accomplishment has spread rapidly, and I'm still trying to process the sudden reaction. My boyfriend told an old crush of his that he's single. We've been together just over a year now. I went on his computer, Facebook was already open on a tab, and I saw he was talking to an old crush of his. She said she was single, and when she asked him whether he was in my partner recently shared with an acquaintance that he's single, despite being in a committed relationship for over a year. Upon reviewing his online activity, I discovered that he had been interacting with an old crush of his. This woman claimed to be single, and when inquiring about his relationship status, he falsely stated that he wasn't involved. When asked why he said this, he ambiguously replied that he didn't know. The situation has left me questioning his character and behavior, as it seems to be a departure from his typical actions. TLDR, my partner's recent behavior with an old crush has made me doubt his character and led to a re-evaluation of our relationship. Engineer is doing drugs. No, they aren't. This just happened. So, I had a laptop system board fail. Under warranty. No problem. Engineer comes on site. Does the job. All good. 10 minutes later, I'm called down to where he was working by a member of management saying a mysterious sight. Not what it seemed. This just unfolded. I had a laptop system board fail. Fortunately, it was still under warranty, so that wasn't an issue. An engineer arrived on site and did the necessary repairs. Everything seemed fine. However, 10 minutes later, I was summoned to the area where the engineer was working by a member of management, who had a rather alarming claim. He suspected the engineer had been under the influence of some sort of substance while working, as there was a syringe in the trash. I looked around, and it appeared the situation was about to escalate, with at least 10 staff members in a state of panic. It turned out the syringe was actually a container for thermal compound. TLDR, an engineer was accused of being on drugs due to a syringe in the trash, but it was actually just thermal compound. Neighbor cut down tree while I was at work. I own a home in New Jersey that has had a 100-year-old oak tree that sat right on the property line between myself and my neighbor. It was literally 50-50. I came home to find everything but about 12 feet of stump left. I had a tree on my property line was unilaterally removed by my neighbor. I reside in a home in New Jersey that features a historic 100-year-old oak tree, with its trunk precisely splitting the property line between my home and that of my neighbor. Upon my return from work, I discovered that almost all of the tree remained except for a small 12-foot stump. I received no prior notification about this tree removal. I acquired this property 3 months ago. This majestic tree was a significant aspect of my home's charm, and I am aware that its loss will have a notable impact on my property values. Considering my current situation, I would appreciate guidance on the necessary steps to take and potential courses of action. I think I fucked up. So, this girl from Iran in my school brought me Iranian food today to try, and she was like, now that you've tried Iranian food, and you speak a bit of Farsi, don't ask how. All that's left is for you to get an Iranian girlfriend, and I replied with, where see? I'm left with a lingering feeling of unease. A student from Iran in my school kindly offered me a taste of traditional Iranian cuisine today, and in a moment of levity, she mentioned that since I tried the food and had a basic grasp of Farsi, the next logical step would be to find an Iranian partner. In response to her lighthearted comment, I nonchalantly inquired, where can I find an Iranian girlfriend? Her expression seemed to shift, and the conversation quickly veered off in another direction. As I lie in bed now, it's suddenly become clear to me that perhaps I missed something in the moment. Or maybe I'm simply being overly sensitive. Drink some water, you're drunk. Okay pal, I was working security inside a club last night and I see a guy stumbling around. I go up to him and tell him I want to see him drink some water before I see him drinking any more alcohol. About 5 minutes later he walks up to me and shows You're clearly intoxicated, so I suggest you take a sip of water. That's a good start, buddy. I was working as a bouncer at a nightclub the previous evening when I noticed a man stumbling around. I approached him and suggested he drink some water before having any more to drink. After about 5 minutes, the individual returned and handed me a glass of water. He took a single sip, then put the glass down before proceeding to consume a full pint he must have purchased at the bar when he went to get the water. This amusing situation caught my attention, and I couldn't help but smile. Edit. Update. AITA for telling my daughter she was acting like an idiot? I take and bring my daughter, 17F, back from school every day. A few days ago I went to pick her up and she was sitting in front of the school while no one else was there. It was a very cold day and she was shivering. Am I the asshole for scolding my daughter for her inconsiderate behavior? Every day, I pick up my 17-year-old daughter from school and take her home. Recently, I arrived at the school on a freezing day, only to find her sitting alone outside. I was perplexed by her isolation and questioned her about it. She revealed that the school had been closed for 2 hours, and everyone had left. My frustration boiled over as I demanded to know why she hadn't contacted me. Her response, "I didn't think you'd come," was unconvincing and infuriating. In a moment of exasperation, I told her she was acting recklessly and that, of course, I would always come to pick her up. Her reaction was immediate. She called me an insensitive person and refused to speak to me. TLDR. Daughter left school early, didn't contact her dad, and got scolded for her lack of consideration. My sister said that she feels like she ruined my life. My sister, 15F, lives alone with me, 22F. About an hour ago she came into my room crying, saying that she feels like she ruined my life. She mentioned that if it wasn't for her I'd still be with my ex. He left because of he. A recent conversation with my sister has left me concerned about her well-being. My 15-year-old sister currently resides with me, and about an hour ago, she entered my room in tears. She expressed feelings of regret, stating that she believes she has had a detrimental impact on my life. According to her, if she were not a part of it, I would still be in a relationship with my ex. However, she also mentioned that she feels responsible for making my life more challenging. My sister's words stem from a complex past, where she lived in a home environment that was not conducive to her growth and development. Moreover, my ex himself made it clear that he was uncomfortable with her constant presence in our lives. As her older sister, I have tried to reassure her that she brings positivity into my life, but it seems she is struggling to accept this. I'm unsure of how to proceed and would appreciate advice on how to address this issue with my sister. I'm tired of hearing about Donald goddamn Trump day in and day out. I'm not even American, but every day I'm inundated with news articles about Trump. TV shows talk about Donald Trump. I just started getting into The Good Fight, but now the main storyline is all about Donald Trump. It's exhausting to be constantly bombarded with information about Donald Trump. Living abroad, I'm frequently exposed to news articles about him. TV shows seem to be consumed by discussions surrounding Trump's life and actions. Even my recent interest in The Good Fight has been overshadowed by the dominant storyline centered around Donald Trump. Each morning, I'm met with a deluge of notifications on my phone, all of which seem to be connected to Donald Trump. It's as if his every move and decision is a major news event. If he were to change his toilet paper brand, I'm convinced it would be a significant enough story to warrant coverage. Given his notorious appetite and eating habits, a health crisis could be on the horizon. Yet, I have no doubt that the media would continue to report on his every move for years to come. This story has been written in a neutral tone, avoiding any explicit language used in the original piece. The story remains the same, with no changes to the narrative or its intended message. TLDR. The writer is overwhelmed by constant news and media coverage of Donald Trump, even outside of the United States. I, 29M, got informed that the girl, 23F, I'm dating is trans and started HRT 2 years ago. The source also informed me that she hasn't had an operation yet. She avoids us taking each other's clothes off. How do I let her know that I'm completely okay with her being pre-op MT? I recently discovered a significant aspect of my girlfriend's life through a third party. The revelation has been that she's a trans woman who began hormone replacement therapy, HRT, 2 years ago. She has yet to undergo gender confirmation surgery, which contributes to her apprehension about physical intimacy. My partner's reluctance to undress in front of me has become more understandable, given her situation. I must acknowledge and accept her as a woman, and the circumstances that have shaped her identity. Her past doesn't define my perception of her. I identify as straight, yet I'm willing to adapt to make our relationship work despite any physical differences that may arise. I also sense her vulnerability, as the need to conceal this aspect of herself from me has likely caused her distress. I want to create an environment where she feels completely at ease sharing her thoughts and feelings with me. I aim to establish a sense of trust where she can discuss any concerns or fears without hesitation. TLDR. A girlfriend who is a trans woman has kept her past a secret from her partner. The partner wants to be supportive and open about her identity but doesn't know how to approach the conversation. AITA. Making my vegetarian daughter make her own meals title basically sums it up, I guess. Daughter has decided she wants to be a vegetarian. I love meat and it's very rare for me to go without some kind of meat at dinner. My daughter naturally expects me to accommodate in. Am I the jerk for refusing to cook vegetarian meals for my daughter as my 17-year-old daughter has chosen to adopt a vegetarian diet? I found it challenging to adjust to this change in our household. Being an avid meat lover, it's unusual for me to go without meat at dinner. My daughter takes it for granted that I will now prepare vegetarian meals alongside my regular meat-based ones. However, I explained to her that if she's committed to being vegetarian, it would be more practical for her to prepare her own meals. This way, she can ensure that her dietary preferences are met. When I discussed this with my wife, she initially suggested that I should continue cooking vegetarian dinners for our daughter. However, she quickly fell silent when I asked if she was willing to take on the responsibility of cooking dinner instead. Now, it seems that I'm the one being unfairly judged for not accommodating my daughter's vegetarian